Hope is the first delusion. They told you to hold on, that no matter how bad it gets, you must keep the faith. That tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow never comes. Because hope wasn't designed to help you. It was designed to keep you in place. You don't see the trap because it wears a smile. Hope feels noble. It makes you feel virtuous. You're applauded for enduring, for being patient, for working without reward and bleeding without complaint. But if you strip away the applause, the patience, and the waiting, what's left? A man in chains calling himself free. This is the first brutal truth. Hope is not a remedy. It is the drug that numbs you while the wound deepens. Schopenhauer understood what most people never do, that human suffering is not temporary. It is fundamental. And hope, far from being its cure, is the mechanism that extends it. Because the moment you hope, you postpone action. You accept less. You endure abuse. You choose to suffer longer so long as there's a chance the storm might end. But might is the cruelest word in the language of control. Look closely. The ones who own the world don't sell results, they sell possibilities. The promotion might come. She might come back. Your life might get better. But while you cling to that invisible thread, what do you ignore? That you're standing still. That you're not walking through a door, but staring at one that never opens. That you've mistaken the act of waiting for the act of living. Schopenhauer saw through the illusion. To him, hope is not a sign of strength. It is evidence of self-betrayal. Because to hope is to admit you have no power now. And worse, it means you've handed the key to someone else, and you're just praying they'll use it. They won't. She won't. He won't. They won't. Because as long as you hope, or you obey. Hope is how systems survive. Governments thrive on hope. Relationships rot with it. Corporations profit from it. You're sold things you don't need for a life you'll never have, because you hope it'll feel better next time. But here's the part they never told you. Hope makes you easy to predict, and the predictable man is the first to lose. Because he waits, he repeats, he trusts what he should question. He explains when he should leave. He says maybe next time when the answer was already no. He tells himself stories that the world is fair, that people mean well, that the sacrifice will be worth it, that pain is noble. But Machiavelli would laugh at this. He'd tell you what Schopenhauer whispered, that the world doesn't care about your fairness. It rewards force. It moves for leverage. And it watches quietly while you cling to a rope that's tied to nothing. There's a man right now who's been waiting 10 years for an apology, another for recognition, another for her love. They keep showing up, don't they? They dress up their obedience as persistence. They call their masochism faith. But the truth is simpler. They're addicted to hope, because hope feels better than admitting the truth that nothing's coming, and no one is coming. You were taught that despair is dangerous, that giving up is shameful. But Schopenhauer would argue the opposite, because only when hope dies can clarity begin. That's why most people never reach peace, because they won't let their illusion starve. They feed it with one more text, one more chance, one more year. And the world, it smiles and nods and keeps taking from them. Because as long as you hope, you won't revolt, you won't walk away, you won't become dangerous. You will be good, you will be quiet, you will wait until death finds you first. Remember this. The lion does not hope the antelope comes closer. He acts, he moves, he knows what is his and takes it. You are not here to hope. You are here to see clearly, to break the leash, to stop waiting for a storm to pass and become the storm itself. Schopenhauer's lesson was brutal because it was final. He didn't offer comfort. He offered clarity. And in a world built on lies, clarity is more terrifying than any nightmare because it kills the story and leaves only truth. You've waited long enough. You've suffered long enough. Hope was never your savior. It was your sedative. The world doesn't want you to wake up. They need you asleep, not unconscious, but dreaming. Dreaming that you'll get what you deserve. Dreaming that justice exists. Dreaming that if you just keep doing what you're told, the system will reward you. But you are not dreaming on your own. You're being dreamed by others. The world as it exists today, your work, your country, your relationships, is not built to empower you. It is built to use you. And nothing makes a man more useful than hope. Hope turns suffering into productivity. Hope turns fear into loyalty. Hope turns slavery into patience. You suffer, but you think it has purpose. You obey, but you think it's wise. You stay, but you call it love. You convince yourself that this job, this woman, this country will one day recognize you. But the world doesn't want to recognize you. It wants you tired, grateful, afraid to lose what little you've been given. This is why the strongest prisons are not built of walls. They are built of dreams. The dream of success, the dream of love, the dream of being seen, the dream of being finally enough. These are illusions you are taught from childhood. They gave you medals for waiting, stars for following rules, a future they said if you sacrifice your present. But when Schopenhauer looked closely at this machine, he didn't see a path to meaning. He saw a meat grinder, and the more hope a man had, the deeper he walked into it. Because the world feeds on your effort, your willingness to suffer, your need for validation. It doesn't care how smart you are, only how long you'll keep working with nothing guaranteed. It doesn't care how loyal you are, only how much pain you'll endure before you break. It doesn't care how honest you are, only whether you'll still show up tomorrow. The world needs you tired, but hopeful, because hopeful men are manageable. They don't ask questions. They don't say no. They keep turning the gears of a machine that was never meant to reward them. And when one of them collapses, they replace him with another dreamer, someone younger, hungrier, still fooled. You think they need your talent? No. They need your faith. Faith in their future. Faith in their rules. Faith in the idea that more time equals more reward. But time is a leash. The more of it you give, the more they own you. You begin to fear leaving, fear starting over, fear losing what you've already suffered for. And that fear is exactly what keeps the system alive. Because a man who hopes even while drowning won't scream. He'll pray. He'll call it character. He'll tell himself, just a little longer. But here's what Schopenhauer whispered that no one else dares say. Nothing is coming. Nothing is owed. No one is watching. No one is planning your reward. You are not part of a grand design. You are part of a machine. And the machine is blind. Your dreams are its fuel. Your love is its oil. Your time is its battery. And when it finishes with you, it doesn't apologize. It simply moves on. This is why waking up is so rare. Because it isn't pleasant. It isn't pretty. It doesn't come with applause. It comes with rage, regret, disgust. The moment you stop hoping, the rot becomes visible. The mask falls off. The job isn't noble, it's extraction. The partner isn't in love, they're dependent. The government isn't your protector, it's a parasite But most people will never allow that kind of sight because it would break them, and worse, it would force them to act. And action is terrifying because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. That's why the world smiles when you keep going, why it cheers when you hang in there, why it sells you books about resilience and grit. They want your eyes half closed, your mouth full of comforting lies, your body still pushing, still buying, still chasing, and you call that hope. Schopenhauer didn't hate life. He hated delusion. And in a world addicted to fantasies, clarity becomes rebellion. To wake up is to lose everything except yourself. That's why they'll call you dangerous, cold, heartless. Because once you stop hoping, you stop needing them. And when a man needs nothing, he cannot be ruled. Desire is a trap, disguised as purpose. You think you know what you want, that your desires are your own, that your goals are noble. But what if I told you every desire you chase was planted by someone who profits from your hunger? Schopenhauer didn't believe in free will the way you've been taught. He saw the human being as a machine pulled forward by one thing, will, an invisible, unstoppable force that drives you to chase, need, crave, and suffer. From the moment you're born, the will whispers, you need more. You need them. You need to become something. It doesn't matter what something is. A lover, a title, a dream. As long as it stays out of reach, you keep chasing. And as long as you keep chasing, you remain useful. That's the design. They don't need you to win. They just need you to want. Because wanting keeps the machine alive. You wake up every day to pursue something. You call it purpose. But it's a leash tied to your own neck. It pulls you toward a future that never arrives, while draining the present of all meaning. Let's test it. If you didn't get the girl, was your love meaningless? If you didn't make the money, was your effort worthless? If you didn't get the reward, was your life wasted? Most people will say yes, because they were taught to measure meaning by outcomes, taught to tie their value to what they acquire. That's the trap. Desire says, if I get this, then I'll be enough. But the moment you get it, a new desire appears. It's not satisfaction, it's substitution. You never arrive, because you were never supposed to. That's why Schopenhauer called life a pendulum, swinging between pain, not having what you want, and boredom having it, and realizing it didn't matter. You don't need purpose. You've been conditioned to need to feel like you're chasing purpose, and that's not the same thing. Purpose implies control, but desire is hunger, and hunger unchecked makes you an animal, a brilliant animal maybe, a productive one, but still caged by the invisible. And here's the darkest part. They know this. The ones who build the systems, they don't need to chain your body. They just feed your desire, luxury, love, status, influence. They make you want it, then dangle it just far enough away that you'll sacrifice everything to reach it. Your time, your freedom, your health, your soul. You become so obsessed with becoming someone that you forget you already are someone. But who you are isn't profitable. It isn't marketable. It isn't useful to them. They want your potential because potential can be directed. It can be sold, extracted, optimized. They don't want you to be free. They want you chasing. And here's where it gets worse. You think you're unique, that your dreams are special, that your goals are self-created. But look closer. How many of your desires are inherited? How many were shaped by movies, schools, culture, shame? How many of your goals are just compensation for wounds you never healed? You want success because you were once overlooked. You want love because you were once abandoned. You want power because you once felt weak. And so your desire isn't a path to truth. It's a reflex, a reaction, a scar masquerading as strategy. Schopenhauer would call this delusion the most dangerous kind because it keeps you moving while never asking why. You think desire gives you identity, but it takes it. It turns you into a beggar with a resume, a slave with ambition, a puppet who thinks he's a player, and when it fails, you feel betrayed. But you still blame yourself. You say, I wasn't good enough. I didn't try hard enough. I'll do better next time. You never ask if the game was rigged because hope won't let you. Hope says the next goal will fulfill you. The next girl will stay. The next job will feel different. It won't. It's the same stage, same script, just a new costume. What's the solution? Let go. Let go of chasing and start seeing. That desire isn't proof of life, it's proof of programming. That purpose doesn't come from the outside. It is the quiet inside you when all needing stops. Schopenhauer didn't tell you to become passive. He told you to become conscious, to look at every craving, every attachment, and ask, did I choose this, or was I trained to need it? Because until you break the cycle of craving, you'll never be free. You will just be a highly efficient tool for someone else's dream. The silent power of letting go. The world will tell you that letting go is weakness, that it means you've given up, that it means you've lost. But Schopenhauer would argue letting go is the only time you win, because it's the only time you refuse to play their game. Letting go doesn't mean surrender. It means clarity. It means you finally stop trying to make the wrong thing right. The job that drains you, you let it go. The relationship that manipulates you, you let it go. The reputation that demands your silence, you let it go. Because what you keep out of fear owns you. They never taught you that because they don't want you to have power. They want you to need approval. They want you chasing meaning in places that only extract your energy. But when you let go, the structure collapses. Letting go is not passive, it's violent, not toward others, but toward the illusions that controlled you. The illusion that you needed her to feel whole. The illusion that suffering buys you peace. The illusion that your value must be proven. You don't need to prove anything. You only need to see clearly. And once you do, you'll realize most of what you wanted was just hope wrapped in chains. People will say, but what if I let go and it never comes back? Good, because if it was real, you wouldn't have to chase it. And if it was right, it wouldn't demand your suffering. Letting go gives you space. And that space becomes dangerous, because in that space you begin to remember your own gravity. People will feel it. When you stop over-explaining, when you stop apologizing for your standards, when you no longer respond with desperation but silence, they'll panic because they were feeding off your need, and now there's no more need, only presence, only quiet. And in quiet, power grows, but the world will try to pull you back, not because they love you, but because your letting go is a mirror to their own fear. They'll say, you've changed, you're cold, you don't care anymore. But they're wrong. You didn't stop caring. You stopped clinging. You stopped carrying relationships that wouldn't carry you. You stopped explaining to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped waiting for a world that benefits from your delay. And suddenly your energy returns. Your spine straightens. Your silence begins to speak louder than your words ever did. Letting go is a shift from control to observation. You no longer try to fix, you just see. You no longer chase, you select. You no longer beg, you dismiss. And in that shift, everything changes. Because you stop being prey, you become presence. The woman who once ignored you will notice. Not because you begged louder, but because you stopped begging at all. The boss who took you for granted will ask questions. Not because you complained, but because your absence speaks louder than your overtime ever did. Letting go is what Machiavelli would call the pivot. The moment you stop reacting and begin moving in silence. It terrifies people, not because you became evil, but because you became unreadable. And unreadable people, they are dangerous. Because they cannot be controlled by guilt, shame, or hope. That's what letting go really is. Not a loss of emotion, but the removal of leverage. Now they can't use the past against you. Now they can't promise the future to keep you in place. Now they can't dangle worth like a prize. Because you've stepped outside the game, and the moment you do that, you realize something shocking. They needed you more than you needed them, but you'll only see it once you stop chasing. And here's what they'll never tell you. Letting go doesn't make your life smaller. It makes it quieter. And in that quiet, the right things start to appear. Not the ones that begged for attention. Not the ones that punished your standards. But the ones that recognize your presence without price. Because you are not meant to fight every battle. You are meant to walk away from the rigged ones. You are not meant to beg for peace. You are meant to choose silence over noise. Letting go is not the end of hope. It's the beginning of power. Because only when your hands are empty can you finally take what is truly yours. Use their hope against them. You've seen it now. What hope really is. Not light, but bait. Not freedom, but a leash. And once you let go of your own hope, you're no longer predictable, no longer easy to move, no longer easy to read. But what happens when others still hope? Now you hold the power, because those who hope are still playing the game, and the game has rules, and rules can be bent, manipulated, and used if you're not bound by them. You no longer hope, you observe. And what you'll see is this: people reveal themselves through what they wait for, what they crave, what they can't walk away from. That woman who talks about independence, watch who she chases when ignored. That man who swears he's in control, watch how fast he breaks when he loses validation. The watchers, the crowd, the masses, they all run on the same software, hopeful desire. They obey trends. They believe marketing. They repeat mantras they never questioned. Just be yourself. Good things take time. Everything happens for a reason. Good. Let them believe. Let them dream. Let them wait. Because the hopeful are the easiest to influence. You don't control people by dominating them. You control them by promising them. Not delivering, just promising. A future they crave. A position they think they earned. A relationship they're desperate to repair. You don't need to be louder, just quieter and more strategic. Hopeful people fill in silence with fantasy. Use that. You disappear for 3 days. They assume you're busier, stronger, colder. You say less. They project more. Because they hope. And hope makes people see what they want to see, not what's real. This is your advantage. The hopeful man plays checkers. The detached man plays chess. Because one reacts, the other sets traps. You've been on the other side before, begging for clarity, longing for response, waiting for something that would never come. Now you're the one who leaves the message unread, not out of cruelty, but calculation, not to hurt, but to expose. You want to know who's desperate, give them silence. You want to see their weakness, give them nothing to chase. The strongest weapon isn't force, it's absence. Because to the hopeful, silence screams louder than 1,000 words, and the less you give, the more they offer. Information, emotion, leverage. They will try to earn what they think they lost. They will offer more than you asked for. And in that moment, they become transparent. Not because you demanded truth, but because you left space for it to reveal itself. The hopeful will tell you who they are. They will betray their patterns. They will expose their wounds. Because hope weakens boundaries, and desperation makes liars confess. And once you know their weakness, you hold the map. The man who wants status will betray loyalty. The woman who fears abandonment will chase the coldest hands. The employee who hopes for promotion will ignore injustice. And you don't react, you don't correct, you watch. Because when others are addicted to hope, you don't need to control them. You only need to steer the illusion they already believe. The trick is not to lie. It's to become their silence. To be the thing they cannot define. The one they hope for, but can't quite catch. And that's how you win. Not through dominance, not through begging, not through overexertion, but through absence, unpredictability, and selective presence. This is the end of hope, not as death, but as evolution. Because now hope is no longer your cage, it's your tool. And those who remain blind to it, they are just pawns moved by stories, bound by illusions, and betrayed by their own dreams. But not you, not anymore. You don't hope. You see, you don't chase, you choose. You don't beg, you disappear. And when the world starts to wonder how you became so powerful, you'll smile. Not because you're cruel, but because you finally understand they are still waiting, and you're already free. You were taught that hope was light, but Schopenhauer showed you it was a leash, a drug for the obedient, a tool for the system. Now you see what others don't. You've let go. And in doing so, you've stepped into silence, where presence becomes power. Let them chase. Let them wait. You move only when it serves you. You choose without fear. You watch without flinching. This is how it begins. With clarity, not comfort. With silence, not noise. With self-possession, not permission. If you found this story meaningful, please share it with a friend. Comment below and let me know. What do you think of this ending? Subscribe to my channel to discover more inspiring stories.